Hello, and welcome to the Advent 7 podcast. I'm your host and bounty hunter, Trey. Today, I'm joined by the head of the Syndicate, Professor Shinobi.
You know, the Blue Eyes White Dragon Syndicate isn't what it used to be, but the Red Dragon Syndicate's doing quite well now.
Interesting. We're here to talk about Netflix's latest attempt to ruin anime, the live-action Cowboy Bebop. But I don't want to be completely negative here, so we're also jamming with the OG series. Before we get started, don't forget to leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and share this on social media. And since it is the giving season, I want to give a quick shout out to the Autism Society of Nebraska. Professor Shinobi, would you mind giving the people a little bit of information on that?
The Autism Society of Nebraska, their mission is to support and advocate individuals on the autism spectrum and their families through community information and referral, education, and legislative advocacy. If you would like to learn and donate more, feel free to visit www.autismnebraska.org.
Excellent. And we will leave that link in the description if you would like to donate or just find out more information. With all that out of the way, we've got a 5 million Wulong bounty to hunt, so 3, 2, 1, let's jam. And
let's not sing more so we don't get the copyright strike.
Yep. All right. Spoilers for both Cowboy Bebop series. So, Professor Shinobi, what'd you think of the show?
So, I basically have two lines of thought on this. When it's Spike and the gang for the live action series, I actually really like this show. There's a lot of really solid acting. The costume design is done very well. There's a lot of love that's poured into it. Then Vicious and Julia show up.
Oh, God.
And unfortunately, when they show up, that's a lot of my biggest problem.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. The set design is really good. Could be better in some places, but it also feels authentic. It feels like someone really, really wanted to make the show shine and sparkle, but then the writers got involved.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems where it's just like, I have to remember who wrote their article, but their real thing was that the problem with Vicious and Julia as characters, particularly in the live action series, is that in the anime, they're shadows of what Spike used to be. They weren't fully fleshed out, and we're kind of seeing a repercussion of that is that they don't have a lot to work with other than Vicious is part of the Syndicate and doesn't like Spike, and Julia really loves Spike, and you have to make it run for 10 episodes, and it's a lot.
Yeah. It's like the fact... It was like, I thought it would be kind of cool to have them constantly doing stuff in the background as a subplot, but...
it drags on pretty heavily, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And not in a fun way where it's like, okay, we got to learn like the intricacies of the Red Dragon Syndicate, and like maybe it's interesting that they're the ones that are supplying Bloody Eye, and it just didn't really go anywhere, which is the worst of it.
Yeah.
That you have this B plot we've seen done better, we've seen more interestingly, and it detracts from time that we could watch Spike kick ass and do what he does best.
Oh, definitely. I mean, oh my God. My biggest complaint is that Vicious doesn't have his bird, his random alien bird.
Yeah, he doesn't have the bird, and like the closest that they do is that they put a tapestry over his shoulder. It's like, it's like, guys, you're literally part of the Red Dragon Syndicate and you have colonies on Mars. I think we can buy the bit of genetically engineered bird.
Yeah. Vicious was the biggest issue for me, probably. Watching him on screen, I was like, this guy... His first introduction actually was like, okay, I can believe he's vicious. I can believe that he's vicious. But then we see him more and more, and I'm like, oh, you're not vicious. Your name doesn't even really fit. Like,
right.
It was funny. I called this in whatever, I think it was like episode 4 or 5 where he has a backdoor meeting with one of the other capos to try and depose them. I'm like, he got really angry when they called him not man enough. I'm like, oh my God, he has daddy issues. I'm calling it now. He has daddy issues.
Wolf, yeah. There's a lot where it's like they tried to do better, or like, oh, he's actually like the son of this person over here, and like he had to watch his mom die, and like he was constantly told that he was weak, and it's like, okay, but we're not shown this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a whole adage in film: show don't tell.
Yep.
Telling us that like, oh, he killed 100 men is one thing. But showing it is very different. And we can see that clearly when we do it with Spike, where it's like they mention like the whole house and it's like you killed everyone, including that young girl. And it's like, what are you talking about? And later on, it's just like the only way he knows how to get Vicious out of it is like, well, there can't be a gang war if there's only one gang.
Yeah.
So he just goes out and kills all of them. And it's just like, okay, this is impactful. This is a good design choice. This is solid camera work. I mean, it's really well done where they just pan right and people are dying from the left.
Yep. I do really enjoy, like, episode 9 was really good for a backstory episode for this series.
Yes. And that was where I felt like if they contained about 85% of Vicious's story, it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But the problem is that they were really harping on the idea of, oh my goodness, Julia got married to this guy over here. What? It's like, okay. And then we did mention spoilers earlier in this episode.
Oh, right? Yeah, we're spoiling everything.
Okay. Yeah, Julia being the real villain at the end is such a freaking head turn about why.
Oh,
and I don't
God.
mean this in the interesting idea of like Marvel's what if kind of why, but like, what is the point of taking a character that is his lost love and turning her into the head of the syndicate when it could have just been Vicious and it would have been fine?
Definitely. Like when Julia, once again, spoilers, once Julia shoots Spike out the window, I'm like, no. I mean, they have to set up a season 2, right? That's what they have to do, right?
I guess. And I think that was one of the other things that a lot of people were mad about. But I mean, conversely, it's only 10 episodes as opposed to 26. And
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop does have more to work with, but it's also weird tonally just because it's something where they say, we're gonna need to be family if we want to get through this. No more lies. Oh my goodness, you lied to me once and my daughter got kidnapped. So the next time I see you, I'm going to put a bullet in your head. I'm like, the hell, Jet?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, you'll get used to betrayal kind of stuff. But like, Jet, you had a lot of betrayal in your life. And this is someone who you know you can count on. And just because it turns badly once, you're going to be like, nah, this is going to get him killed. And I never want to see him again.
Yeah. That was another issue, was the introduction of Jet having a family. It turned him from just it loses some of his cool factor almost, in my opinion. Like
a little, yes.
It's like he's doing this for his daughter, which is like always a good trope to have when you want to have like semi-complicated characters, but it's like, really? Literally, we do 3 different episodes where he's trying to buy this stupid doll for his daughter's birthday. I'm like, why? Why are we doing this? Can't we just...
I mean, I can understand, like, some of it because, like, full disclosure, I have twin girls, and they're 3. So it's like, okay, I can understand as a parent, like, why some of that is. But the other big factor was that for Jet, a lot of it was that he was gruff on the outside and just a softie on the inside. We did not necessarily need to ham-fist it, I guess is a way for me to put it, to like really say like, no, he's a softie, he's a parent.
Yeah. But
I mean, it does lead to one of the best jokes where, like, he's watching his little girl be the sun, and, like, Spike is in the background just, like, trying to fight for his life against the Iron Mink. Oh, that was a thing of beauty. It's like, okay, you know what? You guys know what you were doing here, and I'm willing to forgive a lot of stuff for this one.
Yeah, no, kudos to the cinematography on that one, because it's just like watching Spike in the background. It's always great when it's like, you know, the thing that's not in focus is always the more interesting thing, but we're focused on Jet sitting in this store, just technically staring off into space, but obviously he's video calling down to watch his daughter perform in a play. It's just like, this is both comedy gold and great filmography, and I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this. This is messed up, but I'm okay with this.
Imagine it's going to be a new meme template where outside in the window it's going to say like 2021, and right in front of Jet it's going to say me watching the new season of Great British Bake Off. It's just, like, you can obviously see that whole templating right there, and you can see that's how they made a good line for cinematography is that it's a perfect visual gag.
Yep.
And there's a lot of really small things in this series that definitely felt like they were trying to pay attention to what made the original good.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of, like, the Wulong logo on every single coin. The fact that they got outfits that, if they're not perfect recreations, are sensible upgrades.
Yep.
Because, like, let's be honest, Faye probably isn't wearing that the whole time.
Definitely. And as the actress for Faye pointed out on Twitter when they announced the cast, she put out a whole video just talking about, it's like, yeah, I know that they couldn't find a girl with a big enough chest, but it's just like, it is what it is. And I was like, you know what? No, she's got the attitude. She can be Faye. She's Faye. We can leave it.
Well, and she was someone that watched the series before she had auditioned for the role and watched it 3 times after she did. So that's not a small chunk of time to do that, and she definitely nailed it where she said that Faye is someone who is beautiful, but snarky and troubled.
Yep.
And it's like, that's very much the way that I would describe Faye, is that you'll meet her the first time in episode 3 of the anime, and she's very, very classy, she's elegant, and then you find out she is just brash. And she swears more often than Jet.
Yeah, that's one of the changes that it's like, I don't think I had a problem with it. It just felt it fit with the aesthetic of the world, but when you really look at it, it's like, wow, she's a little intense. But that's the only way she's intense, is her whole just swearing every other sentence.
Well, you also have to remember the introduction for Jet is that he breaks through a ceiling, looks to the camera, and goes, "God damn it, Spike!" And it's like, you know what? That pretty much is him to a T, and just him with that outfit, I don't know how he does it, but he gets his voice, like, ridiculously close to the dog, and he does a very good job at still emphasizing emotion when he needs to.
Yep. No, that I can agree.
He's a very solid actor.
Yeah, Mustafa Shakir, he's done a lot of good stuff. I believe he was a villain in wow. Luke Cage. That's why I was getting my names all jumbled up. I was about to say Johnny Cage, or I was about to say Johnny Cage, Iron Jet, or something like that. I was like, no, it's Luke Cage.
Oh God. Okay, Netflix, new idea for an adapted series. Make sure to do The Adventures of the Immortal Iron Fist and Johnny Cage. I don't care. You got the money. Let's do this.
Oh my God, that'd be pretty good. That'd be very good.
Oh my goodness, I can't imagine it now. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I want to say that overall, actors, all of them did a fantastic job of playing the roles they were given.
Yes. I think a lot of the problems with Vicious is mostly what is written in the script more than how it's performed.
Definitely.
Because the other big thing that I've seen is that if you're a plumber, you don't get the instruction to take this sink, put it in the third bathroom on the left by saying, this is the worst sink I've ever seen in my life. You go, cool, third bathroom on the left.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll deliver it the way that you are told by your director. But the problem then is just that someone picked out the sink and someone thought it was a good idea. So it's really not the actor's fault per se, because like I can definitely tell this is a passion project on a lot of levels, but it felt like they really wanted to drive the Syndicate story a lot more because it was so impactful and they can't get to it in 10 episodes to get all the way to 26. So why not just have this cool side story? And it's like, I don't mind seeing flashbacks of Spike when he was in the Syndicate. That's actually really cool. It's something new that we didn't get to see in the original anime. There's a cool side story for it, and there's the whole thing of like actually seeing him lose Julia.
Yep.
But there's gotta be like 3 episodes at least of just Syndicate content. And I don't know if that's a good thing right now as we have it. And they're definitely setting up for season 2. There's no way that they just drop Ed in the middle of it and it's like, oh yeah, you gotta go kill this one person. Yay! It's like, oh, okay. If it ends there, we're gonna get a lot more pitchforks, but oof.
So yeah, let's talk about Ed real quick. The character with no screen time. I want to say, this is exactly what I was expecting if they were going to do Ed, because Edward is not someone we should have brought to live action, in all honesty. We love Ed. We love her to death, but yeah, she is kind of the definition of look away, children. This is not worth seeing.
Yeah, well, and I definitely appreciated like when Ed does have a lead and she gives them the information for it. You see the little logo that Ed is known for, and that at least they're acknowledging that Ed existed as just like the hacker. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And there's some adaptation in here that I can excuse. But yeah, this definitely felt like something where it's like, I do like a lot of the content on this. I'm not going to say that the Cowboy live action is the worst thing to ever happen. I mean, we got plenty of bad adaptations, Dragon Ball Evolution, anyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of love that went into this series, and it definitely was nice that we get even little interludes of the music. But in some form, it feels like they tried to focus on the wrong parts of the story.
Yeah, that was the biggest issue. They just they saw the instances where they were like, okay, we can use this, but they just missed the target by this much.
Yeah. Some cool ideas that they have, like, oh, well, let's give Faye Valentine a lead into actually finding out what her past is like, rather than just here's the beta tape. And I say that as someone whose favorite episode is Speak Like a Child, and I love that story where they have to go find a VHS player, and Ed goes, this is a beta tape.
You fools, like, you can't play beta tapes on a V8, on a VCR.
But thankfully the director sent one over, because it's like, okay, we got 5 minutes in the episode here, play this.
Yeah,
yeah. Which is a cool idea to actually research more into it, but I also worry that it's going to not have a payoff that's going to be worth it, because that definitely feels like a lot of what my complaints for this series is, that there's a lot of really good ideas, there's a lot of really great adaptations, but sometimes the payoff is just not worth it. And maybe that's just immersion for Cowboy Bebop. Go through a whole bunch of shit and not get a lot out of it in the end.
I mean, kinda. Because, so here's an interesting story for all those out there. I have never properly watched Cowboy Bebop before. It was always on at like 4 a.m. when I was a kid growing up. So I never truly sat down and was like, I'm going to watch this show. But with the live action came out, I was like, you know what? This would be the perfect opportunity to have completely fresh eyes, or almost completely fresh eyes. So this is what I did. I would watch 2 to 3 episodes of the original Cowboy Bebop, and then I would watch an episode of the live action. And I did that back and forth until I got through the entire series. And then it ends with Cowboy Bebop has more episodes than the live action in any divisible way. So it's just going to be like, all right, I'm going to finish the live action and then I will get the finale for the animated. And there were so many times where I was like, okay, I've seen this episode, and it's like, that's an interesting character, or it's like, okay, I can see what they did for the adaptation. I don't know if I like it, but it's not a bad choice. And then there was literally one episode that I watched, the episode with Pierrot the Mad Dog Pierrot, the Mad Clown. I saw
the anime or the live action. Which one?
I saw the live action one first, actually. Because his appearance comes in the live action before I was even introduced to him in the anime, the way I was watching the show back and forth. So I was like,
okay.
So I was like, huh, this guy is terrifying. And then I get to the live action, I'm like, get to the anime, and I'm like, oh my god, he's so much worse here. Oh god, I kind of think they toned him down.
They really, really did. And there's another funny thing in that episode where they mention two things. If you watch with subtitles on, when he's speaking in French, he mentions how everything will fall like tears in the rain. And when Spike is being confronted by Jet, where it's like, I know what you used to do. It's like, you do? Yeah, you're a war veteran. Where were you? This one, Europa, the Tannhauser Gate. I'm like, okay, somebody watched Blade Runner.
Well, I mean,
somebody really watched Blade Runner and was really jabbing us hard with the hints on that one.
I mean, it's a space, it's cyberpunk in a sense, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it really has a cyberpunk-ish vibe where it's just like that level of space and grittiness and bounty hunters and all that jazz. We'll get to the music as well, but yeah, definitely, I can feel that.
Actually, look,
and yeah, I also think that the addition of the music was definitely a good idea in parts where it's just like, we're gonna play Walk in the Rain right before we walk into the cathedral. It's like, okay, cool. I'm glad that it's not just rip the entire anime's soundtrack and just place it down. And it's nice that they kind of sparingly use it.
Yeah.
But
they definitely picked the right moments to bring back the good songs. It was kind of interesting how because I'm one for always watching the opening and the ending credits. And it was interesting how they only use Real Folk Blues, the ending for the anime, like only for half of the episodes.
Yeah, and I can definitely feel that. I think a lot of it is that when you're doing the whole ending, you have to, especially for Netflix, either make it really short, really interesting, or you basically just cut it off and you say, you know what, we'll put it in the last episode for all the credits.
Yep. So it was interesting. And I want to say that I really, really like episode 5 of the live action because it was the Jet focus episode, but I just liked how he was always talking about jazz. I'm taking a jazz class in college right now, so it's just like, hell, hey, I know this stuff. But I really like everything about the episode. Episode 5 was titled Dark Side Tango, so I really like the aesthetic. I liked everything about it. I even liked the B plot with Jet and Faye kind of arguing over what bounty to go after while Jet's gone.
It also introduced the beauty of shower, bath, shower.
Shower, bath, shower.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? I kind of live for those little moments that they have where it's just like, okay, I respected you for taking down that bounty, but this is life-changing. And it's like, okay, what do I need to do next? Oh yeah, if you want to rip shit, move on a stick. Which is weird because that becomes a Chekhov's gun of, oh, by the way, bite down on the loofah.
I was like, oh my god, they actually bought the loofah on the stick. Oh my god.
They actually earned enough money. That's weird.
That's also a question. It's like, how are they affording all of these shower baths? Or shower bath showers?
Water's probably cheap somewhat. You got water filtration. The real ones are just like when you need to pick food and water.
But yeah, Dark Side Tangle was actually probably my favorite episode. I was like, okay, this show it's good. It's watchable. It's kind of cheesy. But it's not terrible. Episode 5, I'm like, okay, no, this show's got some merit to it. It's got some merit.
Yes. Oh, golly, I'm just trying to think what my favorite episode is. And is it really hokey of me to pick 9? Because like that one felt like when you're talking about the Syndicate, when you're talking about the ever-present concept in Cowboy Bebop of run away from your past does not help and does not solve anything, it really comes through in that episode.
Oh, no, definitely. Blue Crow Waltz, it's like there's a good backstory penultimate episode to have. It's like it hits on enough notes where you're like, okay, I like the backstory they created. I like the characterization they've done. Everything about this makes sense, and I like this episode. It's like, I think it's the best. There's no real comparison to it. There's no real equivalent for it in the animated series. The closest I could find was like Jupiter Jazz, the 2-part episode that takes place on a planet with the Blue Crow on it. So I was like, okay, close enough. I was just saying, Blue Crow Waltz is a very good episode. So yeah, two out of the 10 episodes are like above average. I will definitely say that.
Definitely, and I think that was the main idea: is that if you're gonna do anything with a remake or a remix, it's good to explore new avenues as long as there's stuff that was not necessarily touched on in the original. Mm-hmm. If we saw like a flashback of Faye on the rocket beforehand and loses her memory, that would have been fine, as long as you're not giving away too much info about it, because even the anime does that.
Yep.
But in this one, it's just like all you get is the VHS tape and you hear her mom's voice, and that's all. Then it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's a good lead to start out with.
Yep.
But I really wish we could have done more with it.
I think that's the big gripe about this show, is that you can feel the potential there. So we just we wanted this to do well. Because as much as we don't like live action adaptations, when they happen, we want them to do well, because every time we get another bad one, it just pushes us further and further down the road.
Well, the thing about it is that there are very few times that I see a movie or a television series and I take a solid look at it and I go, God, I hope that sucks. Mm-hmm. I just want that to be burned into the ground, and I want it to have no merit whatsoever. Because I want to be wrong. I want to be told, guys, did you hear that the Death Note live action is actually good? Well, about the only one I've ever seen is the Japanese live action. I know, hot take for me, but the Netflix version of it is, let's just say there's a reason we didn't do a podcast on that, because at least with this one, we felt something about it.
Yep. Yeah, and
it's just the idea that if you're going to change things about a series, do hit on the notes that we really enjoyed, but also go into avenues that are interesting. And I feel like what I defined as interesting was not, I want to see more about Vicious and the Syndicate, and I want to see more of the Syndicate politics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can understand, it's like, oh, well, it's a gang war kind of thing, or it's like you watch Into the Badlands kind of content where it's like there's a whole gang war and that's the whole premise of the show, and it does well because that was the focus. But the problem is that when you have Cowboy Bebop, the Syndicate's not supposed to be the focus for a majority of the show, because only a fourth of your cast, yes, I'm including E1N, is from the Syndicate.
Exactly. It's like only one of them should care about it in the grand scheme of things, but yet basically the whole series
have 2 episodes. Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like you could definitely have a couple episodes saying, oh, by the way, the Syndicate's still a thing. Like, that's the whole point of the first episode, because in both the live action and the anime, the first episode does the same plot. We have people who have taken Red Eye from the Syndicate to sell it and to try and get a better life. They changed a few things in the live action that kind of lessen it, but it gives us a hint like, okay, there is always going to be this seedy underbelly somewhere that we will deal with. That's possibly going to pop up whenever we do these bounty hunts. But in the live action, having the Syndicate show up is like, oh, by the way, Spike was in the Syndicate, and not only was he in the Syndicate, he was the top guy, and now that we know he's alive, we're going to be spending the entire series thinking about how to take him down again.
So weird. I remember I was watching it, and it's like, you're fearless, and I'm like, okay, so he's really good because he has a gun. Wait, why is fearless capitalized? Fearless is a name?
You know,
it's like, I found fearless. What?
You know what? I actually kind of thought that was kind of cool. I was thinking like, oh, it's a code name. Because once again, I hadn't finished the original Cowboy Bebop at this point. So I'm like, oh, it's a code name. That would do it. It's like vicious, fearless, code names. That's kind of cool. I finished the anime and I'm like, oh, it's just, they just did a thing. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So it's like when they drop the name on it, and I guess I haven't mentioned what my experience with Cowboy Bebop is. I have it autographed. It's autographed by Steve Bloom and by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn.
Nice.
Who play Julia and Spike Spiegel. The other way around. And I watched it when I was in high school, and I finished the complete series, and then it's like, oh, well, they got the live action for this, and we've always heard the Keanu Reeves one where they joke about it, haha, he's gonna be Spike, and we all love Keanu Reeves, and it's like, okay, we'll see how it goes, and then it's like, okay, we actually got the live action done, great, I'll watch it and I'll enjoy it, and I definitely did enjoy it. It's not like I'm watching this facetiously wanting to burn to the ground, because there's a lot of really great moments, but yeah, it felt like there were a lot of liberties that I'm just watching this all in a row and I'm going, oh boy, there's going to be some issues with this one.
Yeah.
Like I was not expecting robot dog projector.
Well, see, that was something I was always confused about, because I always heard, because I was actually confused about it for both the animated and the live action, because it was like they had pointed out that I'm was some type of genetically altered super dog computer thing in the original, but they never touch on that outside of E1N's introduction episode. At least in the live action, they do something with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's E1N, which is supposed to be a code name, and it's like, is his name E1N, Daddy? Yeah, his name's E1N, sweetie. Very good. It's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But yeah, and then it's like, oh, well, how do we explain it? He was part of a lab. Which one? The same one with Le Fou? Le Fou, who is afraid of cats? Dogs.
He's afraid of dogs now.
It's like, okay, cool, whatever. I can understand being afraid of dogs. He also programmed the dog. Okay, what?
Yes,
I take a lot of liberties with this because I know it's a live action, and it's like, okay, we can't have a balloon man with machine guns. He has hover boots. Fine, whatever. I'll buy that bit. I started to draw the line very heavily on I'm the robot dog projector. It's like, why? At least when the Iron Mink does it, it's like, oh, well, they hacked the system. He hacked the projector. They used the technology for it. He has a ton of money and resources. This makes sense. But Le Fou does it, and it's like, the robot dog shoots video out of its eyes. But then even Faye is like, nah, I ain't buying this, and I live in this universe.
And then they abandoned E1N, and I was like, oh, that you've lost all.
So
You've lost all credibility, Cowboy Bebop live action. You've lost all credibility by abandoning this precious dog.
I mean, it comes back. He's next Ed. Ed found him.
Ed found him.
That's probably going to be an episode where, like, Ainz very sadly walks off, goes into a computer bar, and finds Ed, and Ed's like, "Ooh, doggy."
Yeah. Oh god.
There's a lot where it's like, since this is definitely an animated series and definitely had a lot of funding, what do you think the odds are that we're going to get a second season of this?
I mean, it was trending on Netflix its first weekend. That's all they need. That's all they need.
I'd say that, yeah.
It's like, will we get we could at least look forward to a second season down the line if they can get all the actors back for this, but I feel like it's like there's enough negative discourse online where it could not happen, but I think there's enough enjoyment from the show, and I personally kind of need a second season to get better closure, I guess.
But it's just going to be interesting because you get things like, what are we going to do when they come out with the episode that's like referencing Toys in the Attic?
Oh no.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's like, if they're the same writers and they're the same level of adaptation, and they're going to be like, okay, well, we got to make sure that we hit all of the notes from the anime. There are a lot of people whose favorite episode is Toys in the Attic. And, oh boy, that is going to be an interesting day.
Yeah. Wait, refresh my memory. Toys in the Attic, was that the alien slime one, or am I thinking of a different one?
No, that's very much the episode 11 venomous bite on the Bebop incapacitating Jed, Faye, and Ein.
Yep. Oh boy.
Yeah, so that's a great episode in the anime, and I can understand why a lot of people say that one is their favorite. Great. Absolutely agree with you that that's a great episode. Who boy is that live action adaptation gonna be friggin' weird.
Well, I mean, we've already seen some very horrifying stuff with the eco-terrorists that turn people into trees.
I guess we haven't talked about this. Yeah! That was a total shift, to say the least.
I was like, it's a very interesting change from the original of that episode, but it's even worse. It's so much more terrifying.
It's just, part of me wants to call it bad writing, part of me wants to call it good writing when she shows up in the restaurant, it's like, oh god, what is this? It's like, that's water. Oh, beer, thank god. Okay, listen, I know this is really weird. There are terrorists that turned him into a tree. What? Yeah, it's nut baskets. I know. And it's like, it literally goes to the television and it's like, there's an eco-terrorist out there who's turning people. Steve, do we got the teleprompter right? Trees? It's nut baskets.
Yeah, I was just like, that is perfect setup. But oh my god, watching that was horrifying. Watching the people turn into trees, I'm like, dear god, they really wanted this MA rating to stay.
Yeah, and that level of effects I actually really enjoyed. There's also, I forget what episode it is, but the one where they actually get the hint from Ed about trying to take down this really weird bounty.
Oh yeah, the Landis adaptation. That was... it was Binary Two-Step or Brain Scratch.
Yes.
It's like,
that was another good episode for a lot of things. The one that primarily was it is just, there's that weird thing where he is constantly going through the same day, but you can see his mind is starting to blur out parts.
Yeah.
Where it's starting to get fuzzier and stranger. And it's like, usually those aren't great effects, but this was used tastefully here. And I actually applaud it for doing a very good job at just not using the stereotypical VHS like skip effect.
Yeah. I actually this is one of the episodes where I'm like, they have to do an episode 2 because otherwise there was no point in making this episode. They need a season 2 because they need to pay off the downloading of Spike's brain, because there's no reason for that. At least in the anime, the reason this episode happens is because it's a religious cult. This time it was just it was a weird bounty that wanted to take Spike's brain or copy his soul, something like that.
It was something where it's like it needs to imprint his mind so that it could learn how to be more human or something like that. It's been a while since I've actually watched the episode, but even then, it was very weird about the ambiguity of what it was, but basically equated to 100% means Spike is dead and he loves Julia and can't give her up.
Yep. Which was great. Once again, the Groundhog Day writing on that was very good. I like that.
Yes. I absolutely did enjoy that episode for a lot of it. And it was just weird how it's like the Chekhov's gun is a rail gun.
Rail gun?
Did no one have a hairpin? Ever? Like, literally, all it was is like, oh, yeah, by the way, I use this hairpin, and it's like, finally, something to use in the rail gun. And I'm like, y'all don't have, like, sewing needles or bobby pins? Maybe I just live with a seamstress, but that's just my life.
I just love how they were all saying, yeah, no, those are total scam. But it's awesome. It's a rail gun.
Yeah. Definitely fits Faye's character of, I found a gun. It shoots with magnets. It's like, okay, Faye, that's nice. No, seriously, come on, guys.
It's like, it's cool, we swear. What else do we need to talk about? Because we've touched on most of the episodes. There's a couple that we haven't really looked at. Like, we didn't really look... the Mad Bomber episode, actually, the episode 2... I was very confused because it technically ends with Spike still standing on a bomb. I'm like, okay, they're just doing the episodic thing where off screen they fixed it. But it's just like, the show has enough continuity where I want to know how we got out of that.
Yeah, I really was surprised by that as well, where it's just like they knock out the Teddy Bomber, who's named Theodore, which I actually thought was kind of clever.
Your maintenance guy is named Teddy.
And no one thought to call the ISSP on this. But okay, sure. But yeah, that was definitely one of the moments where it's like, guys, we can cut 5 minutes of Syndicate episode and just go into how the heck do we defuse this thing? And that could be fun. Could be interesting. No? Okay. More vicious, I suppose.
More vicious. So let's get into some cringe.
Oh, God.
So we've got a couple of very cringy lines throughout this series. Like, so Watch Mojo did a whole thing about a whole top 10 changes they made that were just awful to the show. And I'm just still dying over in episode 3. You're black and you're male, Jet. And I'm like, oh no. Oh God, that there was a lot of things wrong with episode 3 because episode 3, Dog Star Swing, it's supposed to be adapting episode 2 of the series where they introduce E1N, where they bring in Hakeem the shapeshift, the face changer. And I'm like, well, they did a semi-interesting thing by actually having him constantly change his appearance. But it was also really dumb because they turned him into how Hakeem looked in the anime just for the fight scene. I'm like, why?
There really was no reason for that. That was very strange. Like, the fight choreography in that is done very, very well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, that is its clip on YouTube. It would do very well. But the big difference is that it's not like, oh, well, he gets a crack into the changer and now it doesn't work. And so it's changing in between them. Or, like, he broke it. Or, like, it got stolen or anything like that. It's just, well, it doesn't work when I'm fighting, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. And then the whole thing was about him wanting to hurt rich people by killing their dogs. I'm like, Netflix, are you sure you want to go with this plot line here?
I mean, we need a line about how get dog. dog be stolen.
Dog be stolen.
Dog be worth a lot of woos, apparently. Dog's apparently taxed heavily? Are we sure about that?
It's like, Netflix, are you sure you want to keep this in the script? The original script was kind of okay. We use Hakeem, who stole something from a lab that happens to be I'm the dog. It works out fine.
No, this is now about class war.
Also,
like, okay.
Also, the whole thing with Jet trying to save this stupid doll for his daughter. I'm like, Jet, you know this doll's going to get destroyed. You are bringing it to a fight with a bounty head. You are so screwed with keeping this doll in one piece.
Yeah, that was not exactly a great B plot, even as a parent. It's just like, Jet, you would know better. You're smarter than this. Faye having trouble buying something, Spike having trouble buying something, I'll buy. But Jet having trouble buying something after we clearly illustrate in another episode that he knows how to buy stuff, even if it's, the A72 and not the A92, is still like, really? This is the elements of the character we want to focus on?
Yeah.
Especially in 10 episodes?
Yeah. And I guess the only episode we haven't really talked about is what we've talked about most of it, but I guess the finale, Supernova Symphony, it does a lot to reproduce episode 5 of the anime, which once again, watching Cowboy Bebop basically for the first time, when I see episode 5, this episode 5 goes way too hard for episode 5 of a 26 episode series. It has no right to be that good or intense or anything. It's just like, but Cowboy Bebop, slow down. Let me get into the show first. This is episode 5. Oh my god.
Yeah, and that was definitely the whole abrupt surprise of all of the culminations of like, your past is coming to haunt you. And it's just, what the hell is going on? Like, is he gonna be okay after this? It's like, oh yeah, he's fine. This is actually just a normal occurrence. Damn, Spike. Leave some for the rest of us.
But yeah, so we've already talked about how Julia's portrayal was kind of lame. Was just like, why?
Oh my goodness.
Why would you make this the plot? Also, hating the setup from the previous episode, talking about Spike, you lied to us. You're Syndicate, apparently. You put my daughter in danger. It's like, I can kind of expect this from Faye, who wants to go off and find her own life, which she does in the anime. She realized she had her own path to go on. So her and Ed both disappear before the final 3 episodes in the anime. But here it's just like, Faye, I can understand leaving, but then she comes back and convinces Jet to help, and it's just like, what is happening? What have you guys done?
Yeah, it definitely felt, there's a lot of force in that ending, and it's not a lot of good. Like, I commend them on the set design. They did a really good job with mixing the music for it. They get a lot of the interesting shots in, but that whole, like, last 10 minutes is just, I do not know where they're gonna go with this for season 2. I just hope it's better than season 1.
Yeah. So this is basically our fears, is that odds are this will get a second season. And if it does, there's going to probably be a lot of Ed in it. So people, temper your expectations and also possibly buy earplugs.
Yeah. Put volume down about 5% less of what you usually do.
And we're eventually, because they basically have done the cardinal sin of for setting up a sequel, is basically set everybody back to square one. So they're going to have to rebuild trust. They're going to have to get the crew back together. And then eventually they're going to have to figure out how to take down Julia, as she is basically now in charge of the Syndicate. Oh my God.
And let's pray that the last bullet just always misses when she plays Russian roulette with her husband, because I can't imagine the scene where she kills Vicious. I don't want to.
Oh my god, that's gonna ruin the end. Honestly, if Julia somehow kills Vicious before the end of the series, it really will make this a very bad adaptation. Because then it'll be like, is Spike gonna have to fight? Oh my god, what if they write this so that Spike has to fight Julia in the end, and they both end up killing each other?
That's the problem, is that there's a lot I didn't think about for, like, I think of a lot of what do they need to adapt in season 2, but not how do they adapt for episode quote unquote 11 when episode 10 happens. And it's gonna be a road, I'll tell you that.
Yep. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
I really do want to commend all the actors in this for really definitely doing a great job in this series. The music in it is absolutely fantastic. My biggest complaints is that when they adapt things of the Syndicate, when they were not fully fleshed out characters and they're trying to do everything to make them look like real characters, that's where a lot of my problems are. I would definitely say, if you're going to watch this, I would watch the anime first, because there are a lot of notes that you are going to miss if you watch the live action first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Watching the anime, once again, Cowboy Bebop is a masterpiece, and for all you sub versus dubbers out there, the dub is superior. Shinichiro, the creator of the show, has said it himself that the dub is the best way to experience Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, and then you also need to make sure to watch Knocking on Heaven's Door, the Cowboy Bebop movie, if you have not, which is probably my favorite Halloween movie.
Huh. I've been trying to find the movie because I just realized, I'm like, all right, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I don't know where to find it besides renting it. I'm like, darn it, it's not on any streaming service yet. Netflix, get on it.
Yes, make the movie link. It's already done. You don't have to do any writing. You just need to buy some rights. You got Cowboy Bebop already. Just put up the movie.
It's like, you'll get a lot of people watching. We promise. We'll probably let you do season 2 of this show.
And that is definitely a push the button scenario. If you push this button, you will get the Cowboy Bebop movie on streaming for as long as the anime is up. But in exchange, you will get season 2 of the live action series. I'm pushing the button. Pushing the button. I really like that movie.
So yeah, I think that's about it. So that's all we have to say on the show. But hey, maybe we misunderstood the whole thing. Or maybe we're just grooving to a different beat. You'll have to let us know in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe for more content. Also, if you're feeling generous, please consider donating to the Autism Society of Nebraska. Link will be in the description. For more content on anime, video games, or comic books, follow us on Twitter at Advent7, Advent_7, Facebook, Subreddit, and our main site, Advent7.com. From Advent7, I'm Trey, and I was joined by Professor Shinobi, and
we'll see you in space, Cowboy.
Yep. Bang.